I will divide each question for two aspects. First of all, the global technology that all what our your client in Israel have to know, and the second, if you have on any kind of a product or a service Israeli aspect, you can comment on it.
Okay.
So the topics are global technologies and
No, I said that if you have an Israeli example or aspect of Israel, it's better.
Yeah.
And okay.
Okay. Do you want to start?
Yes.
Okay.
What is the new trend now of software-defined networks? What is the direction? Who is the early adopters, or what kind of customers you can have from that? And what is the meaningful? What are the saving of that?
Okay. So
small customer, big customers.
So actually the biggest customers are telco companies.
Yes.
So like AT&T, China Telecom, or all those big telcos, they are the prime customers for SDN and NFV because that's their business. They sell bandwidth, they sell content, so they have a lot of benefits to do software-defined networking, and it's saving them. I don't have hard numbers, but it's saving them millions, and so it's great. We have telcos, but we also see that cloud service providers, they benefit from SDN. When you have a large data center that you need to operate, then SDN can help you reduce the costs, but also improve the management of your networking hardware. So you don't manage switch by switch, but you manage networking rules or routing or those kind of things. And that's the second set of customers. And again, they do savings. There's still a bit of a challenge in SDN and NFV is that the big telcos, they are not doing exactly the same thing. They have different use cases. So it's very complicated to have a single solution for everybody in NFV and SDN. And you can see that there are a lot of different open source projects related to networking. And so the community, the Linux Foundation, companies like SUSE, we are working on consolidating projects together to avoid fragmentation of technologies and solutions so that everybody works on the same standard kind of technology to be quicker to market. And on NFV, we see in Israel, we have some customers running OpenStack, and there's a lot of use cases where SDN comes with OpenStack. So you have OpenStack to manage the infrastructure, virtualization, storage, and the networking part is replaced by some of the NFV and SDN solutions. So we also see those kind of setups a lot everywhere, and also in Israel we have some customers there.
Okay. Do those companies that are probably companies that cannot have downtime count on open source?
Oh yes. So I will give you an example from Israel. So I was in Tel Aviv in May, and we met customers, we met partners, we met people from the Ministry of Defense, and all the embedded systems of defense in Israel, they are looking at moving to open source because open source Linux is around since 25 years, and it's running in cars, it's running hospitals, it's running the whole internet, it's running all the stock exchanges all over the world. And we see Linux being adopted for embedded systems in a lot of army and defense use cases as well, including Israel as well. So, because with Linux, especially at SUSE, we have a technology called live patching, so you can upgrade your operating system for security without stopping it. So there's no downtime, but you ensure security, for instance. And so there are, mission critical. Linux is very well designed for mission critical, and it's actually the same with OpenStack, with Ceph storage, and with the open source projects that SUSE is packaging. do that for enterprise customers. So we make sure that they are stable and mature enough for mission critical.
Can you elaborate what you talked with my colleague earlier about the you also mentioned it a little bit now about the consolidation. What does it mean? Because it's again, it's again the free the free system that every developer can take into
do
his
whatever they want.
and
and we should keep that. So that the value of open source is that everybody is free to start something and try to get other people to work together. And but then you have foundations that are helping to put a bit of framework and governance around the projects. It's not only people in their room, but it's organized by teams. So we should keep that. We should, of course, leave it open. But when we look at solutions for enterprise, we also need to work on making sure that we take the best of the open source projects and we test it, we integrate it for enterprise. So in the case of networking, inside the Linux Foundation, there are a lot of different networking projects. And some of them, they are addressing the same level of so networking starts from the data plane up to the orchestration, and you have different projects, including for the same level. So we are looking at merging those projects together so that we don't spend efforts, we don't duplicate efforts, we all work together in the same directions. And it's ongoing, and I think it's going to happen very soon.
You said something about to be not dependent in a single company.
Correct, and there are actually very good companies from Israel involved in that. So I'm thinking about Cloudify, which used to be Gigaspaces, and involved in ONAP. That's the NFV one of the NFV orchestration projects. So we see also a lot of companies from Israel in the container space addressing security needs for containers. So there's a lot of innovation and the Israeli startups participating to open source projects a lot.
Okay, Thomas, can I ask you a couple of questions?
Yeah.
Because we have 10 minutes more.
Yeah.
And more. Two kind of questions, very different. The first one is anyway. I ask you a little bit focusing on OpenStack. Mm-hmm. At which point are we now, and how is your vision in a year, in 2 years? Where are we about OpenStack? Then the second question.
Okay, so OpenStack has been production ready since a couple of years already. So it's past that. It's already mature enough for mission critical for enterprise. There's no doubt. It's running in a lot of different industries. What sometimes people might feel is that the hype in the industry. So OpenStack is not on the top of the hype cycle from an industry, let's say, marketing perspective, because it has become stable enough that it's being used, and now people they talk more about containers, for instance, than OpenStack. But I still think that OpenStack is the best solution to manage infrastructure. I mean, with containers, you can try to manage complex storage and networking, but it's going to be difficult. And there are some open source projects to help improving how containers deal with storage and networking. But OpenStack is far more advanced than that.
Today.
Yeah, today. And I think that might still be the case in 1 year or 2 years. What OpenStack is doing now is also focusing more on some of the use cases. So for instance, there's a new work group for finance institutions, because we have customers from all different industries using OpenStack. Automotive is using OpenStack a lot, for instance. And so the OpenStack project is also now focusing on some specific industries to help also optimizing some of the use cases for those industries. Yeah. So that's one angle. I think it's very important also to integrate properly Kubernetes and containers with OpenStack. because the compute part makes sense a lot with Kubernetes.
This is not the second question, but is why, according to you, is not so sexy? It's not so appealing.
Because it was sexy 3-4 years ago. Now today Kubernetes is sexy.
Okay.
In 2-3 years from now, something else will be sexy. Linux, I don't know if Linux was ever sexy. It was
Always sexy.
always sexy.
Never ending.
And
appealing.
and that's human nature. We love new things, we love new technologies, they bring new stuff, but it doesn't mean that Linux is still there. So even if we have all the container hype, at the back of it, Linux is still growing and still bringing some innovation. And I think OpenStack has reached that maturity, almost commodity level, that it's not sexy anymore because it's there and it's doing the job.
Anyway, long live to OpenStack.
Yeah.
Second question is how did a CTO works? How is it? It's in your profile because I'm very curious.
Yeah.
How do you organize your structure, and how do you search and find the new competences you might think to need?
Yeah.
How is your?
So
Would you answer to this question?
Sure.
You took a question that I intended to ask in another aspect.
Yeah.
How do you find new ways for the company ahead?
Yeah.
And
Okay, I can answer both questions.
Yeah.
As you like.
So the joke I'm making sometimes is that CTO means Chief Travel Officer.
Okay.
Because I'm spending most of my time visiting customers, visiting partners, visiting conferences, industry events, to learn about what people do, what people look at, what people develop, open source communities. So it's a lot of scouting the trends in the industry, and then bringing that back internally and discussing with Michael, with our president of marketing and alliance, with our president of engineering, discussing those trends and looking at SUSE strategy and how we need to adapt that for the future. And I'm trying to find the right balance between hype and real customer needs, because at the end of the day, we do things for our customers, and it's not always the most sexy object. And I'm not saying that for any specific. Kubernetes is sexy and it's good, but sometimes you have sexy technology that are not specifically well adapted or not ready enough for enterprise. So we work on that together as a team. Internal team, but also external team. So I'm doing that a lot with our partners, like with HP, with Dell, with IBM, with Fujitsu, with Huawei, with all those guys, discussing with their R&D, what they are doing, what they are seeing, and try to find synergies together.
what did you learn from the new part of SUSE that the CEO talked about?
The
HPE.
Yeah.
No, I understand that some of it was absorbed into SUSE, and the rest is still under the mother company.
Correct.
So
from a SUSE perspective,
yeah,
it was mostly two things: the assets from HPE on OpenStack, so the code, and most of the code is OpenStack itself, but the additional things around OpenStack that HPE has built, the engineers. So we learned a lot from them. So it was very good for us to get skilled OpenStack engineers. We had already a lot of them,
yes,
but as we were growing, it was hard to find skills, people skills.
yes.
So it helped a lot. What's helping as well is that we have now the former HPE OpenStack, SUSE OpenStack. We can compare very precisely, select the best part of each one, and make a better product. So that's for OpenStack. On Cloud Foundry, SUSE, we had no product. We were working on interfacing Cloud Foundry with OpenStack, but we didn't have a specific Cloud Foundry product. So now we have the product, we have the knowledge of, and it's very important because Kubernetes and Cloud Foundry, they are bridging IT infrastructure with developers. And so it's helping us, it helped us a lot to address the application delivery, developers on top of the software-defined infrastructure. And thanks to the acquisition, we could do that very quickly, more than if we would have to organically grow that kind of competence. I think that was the two main things.
And I understand that you will keep your independence even under Micro Focus. But how you will be will leverage the other parts of
Right. So
Micro Focus
and
both HPE and others.
got it. So in a way, we work with them as we work with any other partner. And when I say with them, with our mother, like our mother is a partner. So we certify technologies together. HPE software will join Micro Focus. They bring the ITOM. So I don't know if you're familiar with the HPE software portfolio, but the IT management solutions, analytics solutions. And what we do is that we certify that with SUSE Linux, and so that we make sure that those software can run on SUSE Linux, but also as containers and SUSE Container as a Service platform. So we work tightly together to integrate. So that's from a technology standpoint. Then go to market, joint sales. I think if you have a meeting with Ronald, our sales guy, president of sales, you would have better answer. But technically, we are working together with Micro Focus on the certification and the integration of solutions.
Very quickly, 3 tips to convince to use the Container as a Service platform you announce tomorrow.
Okay.
Three keywords
Okay.
or more if you
Yeah.
want.
Let me try with sentences and then we see.
Okay.
So only having the container engine, it's not enough. You need to manage, deploy, automate your container infrastructure. And that's what CASP is doing.
Not enough.
That's one. It's also bundling together the container management, the cluster management, and the operating system optimized for containers. And it's also hybrid cloud, so you can run that bare metal or public cloud. So it's also embracing hybrid cloud needs. So it was not really keywords. But
Okay, no, but it's good.
okay.
Okay.
Want to take a picture?
Yes.
Selfie.
No, not selfie. The selfie camera is very lousy for public.